welcome back to the Process Podcast. Today I'm sitting down with Zac Perna to talk all about how to build an online business. But in this episode, I took away so much more. This episode was actually the kickstart that I needed to really invest a bit more time and energy into my social media with the goal of helping more people. So if you are like me, you're questioning social media, how can I get the most out of it? Why do I even need it? Or you're someone looking to move into the online coaching space, this episode is for you. Zac Perna, welcome to the Process Podcast.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
Man, I'm great. Got my coffee, got my sugar-free cordial, which is my other. I always have 2 drinks on me, and I'm ready to cook.
Love it. Zac, who are you and what do you do?
Whoa, big. It's okay. I'll sum it up. I'm technically author, entrepreneur, mentor, fitness coach, influencer. Jeez. I've done a few different things. I started off in like the influencer space slash online coach, and then moved more into mentorship, and then wrote a book, and now I do basically full-time mentorship for helping fitness coaches build their businesses.
Okay, that's a lot.
Bit to unpack.
How do you find that question? How do you find that question, by the way? Like,
Cool.
who are you and what do you do?
I can never answer it because every time I used to try and put myself into a bucket, I could never pigeonhole myself enough. When people are like, "Oh, you're an influencer," I'm like, "Yeah, but also I do this and that and that and that." Because I actually own a pajama brand with my brother slash Potato. It's like just comfy pajamas. So we run that. I have the mentorship. I do funny random videos on Instagram. I did write a book, like published book that was globally published and helping people with their business. So there's so many random things that there's not really a word for it. So I don't really talk about myself for that reason.
Yeah. Okay, the word influencer, like how does one, if someone wants to say what does that mean? Like what does it mean being an influencer? How do you describe that?
I would describe it as essentially getting paid to post content. That's how I would describe it as.
Where did that whole journey start for you? Because I feel, having followed your stuff and seen some of your posts, you reference back to this time where it's like very much younger Zac,
Mm,
wearing like a wife beater,
yeah.
and he is sorry, in England that's what we call a vest. I don't know
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you guys refer it to. But putting content up at a very young age. Where did this whole
Yeah.
thing start for you?
It was probably 18, 19 years old. I loved the gym. I was fully obsessed with it. Getting into, I was at uni studying, and I didn't post a single thing online at this point. I was just the average person would, 700 followers, didn't really share anything fitness related. That was terrifying. But I looked up to the people doing it. Like I'd be the kid going to the expos, taking photos of, with my idols and stuff like that. And I saw them posting on social media and having sponsorships, and I was like, this is actually the dream. Like that's what I thought. And so I started trying to make content. And at the time, the word content was not used in that context at all. So I was taking photos, and I just started posting photos of like my physique and stuff like that, trying to put it out there, and just try and spread fitness and show people what I was doing, what I was eating. And it started with just posting a few photos, and then that got a little bit of traction because there weren't many people doing it, because people just would, obviously, especially in Australia, terrified of doing that, just like I was. And then that slowly moved into YouTube when I started to speak to different people, and they said, "Hey, you should really do YouTube. This would be really good for you." Again, terrified, no experience, nothing like that. So then I got into making videos, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing making videos. I just bought a camera and just like went with it, and tried to get better at the craft and get better at making videos. And as soon as I had a few people watching, I was like, "This is crazy. There's like 50 people watching my video. It makes me want to do another one." And that literally snowballed. That just snowballed until I built the following, got the brand deals, and I built the life that I was like, "Holy shit, that would be the dream." And it came around pretty quick.
But what was when you first started these videos? Okay, so you said that like you were obsessed with the gym, you wanted to like pass it on to other people.
Mhm.
Was that the only outcome? Was there an outcome that it was like this could be my life, this could be my money?
I
What was
think like
driving you?
deep down, I always knew that that would be crazy if I could get to the level of these athletes. Like that's always what I called them, athletes at the time, because they were these really, there was like huge shredded fitness models. Like I just thought they were athletes. So I thought I'm gonna get bigger, like physically, and really shredded and look amazing. So one day I'll keep putting out all this stuff, I'll get famous, and one day that would be the dream. But I didn't really believe it. This is like a weird thing with me is that I don't think I actually believed that I could do it because I didn't really visualize it. I just thought that would be amazing, and so I just did it. So there was very much a self interest at heart because I'm like, this is amazing for my ego. This would be the dream. But then there was also a fulfillment in terms of being able to service people and help other people. Like I would help you if you asked for a fitness tip. I'd talk to you for an hour to help you out. Like that's where I was at. I was so passionate that I wanted to spread the message, but I also thought, wow, that would be pretty cool.
And like you obviously have done well for yourself. You've gone from that guy who had 700 followers to, the following that you have now, which I think you're what, over 500,000.
Yep. Yep.
So what were like looking back at like younger you at 18 when you started this journey, what were like the key things that you did well? I'm sure there's things that you probably look back and you think could have done that so much better. What were the things that you did well that separated you from, 99% of the social media world that is probably still at that stage?
I always have thought about this, and I think I didn't give a shit. I didn't have a filter. Like I just posted whatever I thought was good, funny, my opinion. And now I think people are really in like affected by cancel culture almost to the point, and even myself now, I'm still have to go, oh, don't say that or don't make that. Like whereas back in the day, I was very much just doing my own thing. And so as a result of that plus consistency, I stood out a lot. And that's what I try and teach my guys is you can't copy everyone else because you're going to be a carbon copy of just some boring guy, textbook person. You have to be a bit weird. Like you got to lean into what makes you different and weird and strange because that is the only way by definition to stand out. You don't stand out because you have the most information, the best information. This information's everywhere. And there's a lot of people who people go to for information. That's where people get it wrong, I think, in content is that they start to look at, oh, I need to be the most informed. Whereas I was looking at it like, I'm just gonna do me. I'm just gonna be me right now. And as a result, my first viral video I ever made was a Harry Potter impersonation video. And I'd sent it to my friend who was actually like a bit of a mentor at the time. He'd helped me. He was like, he had a clothing brand. He let me do photo shoots. So he was always giving me a bit of advice. And he said, "Did you have to post that video?" And I just sent it to him just for a laugh. I said, "No, no, no, no way. It's terrifying." He goes, "Do it. It's hilarious. Post it." I posted it. It got shared on like all the major viral things. Like 50 Cent shared it on his page. It was like it must have got over 100 million views. And that was like a bit of a turning point because I went, oh, wow, I don't have to do this conventional athlete, boring textbook style thing. I can actually get views off doing what I want to do. And that was like the thing that I think that's the reason why I succeeded, I think, was because I just stopped caring.
Okay, so I hear it. I'm kind of like hearing this as like, just be your authentic self. But has everyone got like the weirdness in them? Do you know what I
I
mean? Like,
reckon. I mean,
yeah, everyone
okay,
got
so
something unique and different about themselves.
I always think that there is, right? But I think a lot of people don't let people in enough, or they're not
Mm.
as confident within themselves to explore that avenue of their personality, right? And I think about that a lot because if I have someone who comes to me and says, I need help, I have to look at them and go, all right, well, what about you? How can we make this work? You know? And a lot of people, not like 19 out of 20 people, they've got something. I'm like, oh, you remind me of like this. I see this working really well. But some people, and you could probably you meet some people, and you're like, you are just, you're just boring. But maybe they're hiding something. Maybe it's like they just don't let you see it. So I don't know if I believe everyone has something. That's what I genuinely believe. But I think the people who you just wouldn't think, I feel like they don't even let themselves see it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, like how I guess you've got to be really comfortable with yourself, like, as a
Yeah,
person before you can even start to get to that point where you're really, I mean, if you can't be comfortable with yourself in solitude, then putting yourself on a platform for the world to see, I can imagine is, would you say it's something that stops a lot of people really putting themselves out there?
100%. And one thing that I did with that was I almost just did like fake it till you make it. Like if you watch my very old videos, I was fucking terrified. I was so scared of being on camera and talking. but I knew that I had to like push it. So I would almost
Yeah.
put on just a little bit of confidence, like for the camera. Otherwise, I'd look like a scared child. So I was like, I need to put it on a little bit. And then after I did it, it was almost like a fake it till you make it. I was able to then embody the confidence that and really have it that I almost acted a little bit. So I think
Mm.
you need to be comfortable and confident within yourself, but also I think you have to be able to go, you know what, I'm just going to push away these feelings of shyness, fear, judgment, and I'm just gonna like launch into this for 10 minutes. Like that's what I did. That's what I used to gym myself up for.
And when you said like you were scared, what were the feelings of scaredness? What were the things that were holding you back?
It was what are randoms going to think? What is this person that I know going to think? What's my family going to say if they see this? Like all these things go through your mind at the exact same time. And this is why people can't talk to the camera. And I don't know if you've dealt with this before, but if you go to talk to the camera and you're going to make a piece of content and it's the most simple idea ever, maybe you're going to talk about uh, 3 tips to lose weight or something like that. And then you go to do it and then you freeze up and you're like, I have no words. It's because concurrently in your brain, there's about 10 or 20 or 100 different thoughts and you can't multitask. You can't get your message out and be present at the same time as thinking 40 fleeting thoughts over and over again. That's why this it creates this like feeling of a freeze. I don't know what to do. And I felt that all the time. So all those fears that were going through my mind was all these different people. What are they going to think of me? Should I even do this? Do I even know? Am I even making sense? What does my hair look like? Like all those things at the exact same time. So then no wonder why no one can talk to the camera. So like those fears, terrible. Like they're scary. And I think a lot of people experience that, right?
How did you break through that? Like, how did you get to the point where you could like silence those fears and actually
Mm.
just put yourself out there?
It was almost like an unconscious level of mindfulness. Like I didn't know that I was like being mindful, but I was trying to be really present. And so every time I got really, really scared with filming or talking to the camera, I would do 2 things. I would think about my purpose, and and by that I mean like, what do I want? Why do I do this? Why am I even doing this in the first place? Why am I making this video? So let's say I was making a video. Why I'm making this video is so that one person out there who needs help gets the help that they need from me. That would lock me in again and remind me of the importance of it. I'm not doing it for just to post a piece of content because it makes no sense. So I would be like locked into my why. And
Mm.
then I would center myself and get really present with what is my message? That is it. Like, what's the message that I want to send? Simple as that. Because if you don't know the message, you're going to talk nonsense. But knowing the message is like, well, I know my stuff. I can talk. And this is why people tell me all the time, they're like, I know what to say, but when the camera's on, I don't. And that's the same thing. So I make sure that I just think, all right, why am I doing this? And then also, what is the one thing I actually just want to get across? And then when I do that, it silences those kind of fears and random thoughts because I'm too busy focusing on the message that I want to say, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm like just thinking about something that I actually went through maybe just like last week or 2 weeks ago. And I think I'd seen probably someone on Instagram talking about what makes content better. And they were breaking down like the hook and then like what problem you're trying to solve and then like provide the solution. And then they were talking about attention spans and like don't just have it on your face the whole time. Make sure you're cutting every 2 seconds to a different angle. So I was like, right, okay, I've been thinking about this stuff a little bit more recently, being like, well, okay, like I really want to help people, and if I can, there's a better way to do it by saying the same thing but using a more tactical approach to doing it. Let's try it. And I just finished a run, and when I'm running, I'm thinking about lots of things, and often like I get ideas, and I don't know, I had this idea at the end of the run that I'm gonna make this piece of content about like injury prevention for people who are running, because there's so many people doing it now, and everyone's running
Hmm.
in a straight line, and I want them to get more multi-directional stuff in. So as I'm running back to the run is basically finishing outside my house, get my camera out, and honestly, I met Zach. I spent like 45 minutes of just like walking up and down this like 5 minute stretch where no one could see me, just like saying 2 words, changing the angle, and it was
Yeah.
fucking shit. I basically did this whole thing, and
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'll stitch this together. This is gonna be awesome. And I could feel time ticking away, and I'm like, this thing is getting no better. This is like
Yeah,
awful. And I was
yeah,
kind of looking at it thinking like, this just isn't even good. Like, this isn't me. It doesn't feel like me. I'm like looking at this and I'm like, this feels really manufactured.
yeah.
If I was looking at this, I'd just be like, this guy's a douchebag.
Yep.
So anyway, 45 minutes went by and I told myself I can't spend more than 50 minutes on a piece of content.
Yeah.
Otherwise I'm just wasting time. Right. So then I get 45 minutes in and I'm like, nah, I can't deal with this right now. So I closed my app, didn't even bother. I'm walking back to my house. And then I literally just said, all right, pulled my camera back out and I just did a 2 minute just talk, well, 1 minute and a half talking thing where essentially I just got the whole message of what I've been trying to do for 45 minutes
Yep.
in 90 seconds and basically just posted it. And I was
Yep.
like, that felt so much better and that felt authentic. I can look at this. I actually don't even care about the likes anymore because that's
Yep.
where my head was originally. It's like, this needs to be engaging. And
Hmm.
and I was like, it was a big, I don't know, thinking about what you just said there, it
Yeah,
was like the authentic piece, what just felt natural, felt way better for me. What are your
definitely.
like, do you resonate with that? Do people do that a
100%.
lot? Do you?
I mean, I can see because nowadays, especially, people will make videos and make videos about making content. And so they go, here's how to optimize this and that. And that's all well and good. And I think when you're at the point where you've mastered your messaging, you can afford to go, let me get a bit creative with the delivery. Of
Mm,
course, right? So when I first started YouTube, I didn't concern myself with all these crazy advanced editing. I would put the camera down and I didn't have a microphone. I just put the camera down, sit in front of it and go, hey guys, I want to talk about this. Like, and there was no B-roll, there was no effects, there was no multiple angles, there was nothing, of course, because I'm just talking about the stuff. Whereas I didn't start there going like, oh, I need to get Christopher Nolan to direct my vlog. Like, I would just started with, let me just get this shit done. And then after a while, then I buy the camera. I learn different techniques. I'm like, oh, let me see if I can do something a bit cooler. Let me do a different cutaway. That's the progression of getting good at something. But with content now, people make you feel on social media that you have to use hacks and tactics to beat this and try and outsmart the algorithm. And because of that, you lose touch of the craft of delivering your message. And like you said, you skipped and tried to jump ahead to do all the retention techniques and all the hacks that people tell you should do because it's buzzwords. But and you lose heart, like you lose the heart of your conversation, which is the message, and it's you, and it's not over engineering and manufacturing stuff. So maybe when this becomes really, really comfortable, and you're like, yeah, I know my message, I know my tone of voice. After a while, you'll probably make so many videos. You're like, out of the sheer fun of it, you'll want to do something a little bit more creative and
mm,
different and more like to grab someone's attention a bit more. And it's going to be exactly in line with who you are. So the whole thing will feel super authentic. Does that make sense? As opposed to like going
yeah.
for one first and almost not building the foundation of speaking.
Team, I want to quickly interrupt this episode to give a little shout out to our sponsors today, Well Spent. This little journal has made such a massive, profound impact on my life since I started using it. When I started using it, I actually didn't know that it was backed by neuroscience, but now it totally makes sense. This has brought a ton of gratitude to my life. It keeps me on track and focused on the things I need to do day to day and brings a lot of context as to how each day fits within the greater week and the greater month. So if you, like me, really care about trying to be a high performer and want to do everything you can to make that happen, I cannot recommend this journal enough. Use our discount code, The Process, to grab yours today. Yeah, I think it's actually very liberating to hear that because I think I certainly have recently felt like I'm just failing at social media. Like I've been doing this for a
Hmm.
while, obviously built a decent following. Um, but now I'm just feeling like I'm falling behind. And I think the things that, worked for me in the past, I'm now like feel like I'm just having to step into this whole new world of the way that I create it. And I
Yep.
think actually if I put myself in the shoes of my followers, they're probably seeing me and they're probably seeing me like trying it a little bit too hard with
Yeah.
some of
Yeah.
these things. And they're like, mate, that's not you. Like, that maybe that's not why we came to follow you in the first place.
Yes.
So I think, yeah, the message I'm taking away from here is like, you got to be authentic, but then, and like, nail the authenticity, nail your message, who you want to speak to. Something straight away that I wrote down there was like the intention behind every message. I
Hmm.
think always the piece of content that feel like most exciting for me, when I'm
Hmm.
creating, I'm like, I can't wait to share this. And it's not even about how the world engages with it, but it's like, this just feels right.
Yeah.
It's always because I got a real clear intention behind why I'm posting it.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a big takeaway.
Awesome. No, I love
Do
that.
you do you have an intention behind every single post you put up, Zach? Like every time you go
Yeah.
to create a content, are you like getting clear on why I'm putting this out there?
Yep. I am. And sometimes it doesn't have to be too deep. Sometimes it's like I just want to have a laugh. And that's literally as simple as that. And they're sometimes the ones I'm most excited for because I'm like, I think this is hilarious. Might make a skit video or something that's funny that I, created. So it's creativity. I came up with it, and I'm like, I want to spread this and see if I can share that feeling with someone else. And that's like that. Really, I love that. Pumps me up. And sometimes it is the value based of let me see if I can teach the person who really needs this. And a lot of people don't have this experience, but I've been fortunate enough to go to expos, go out in public, meet people who say, Zach, you helped me with this and this and this. And I met a lot, hundreds of people more who have said that to me. And when people say that to you, it is the why. That becomes the why because you go, it's not about likes anymore. It's not about the comments, the views, the metrics. It's about one person's life that you put in a positive direction. Because when that one person says something to you, it changes. It makes it real. And so every piece of content has to have intention behind it. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time. And the busier I get, the more precious my time is. So if I'm filming a video, well, I could film 50 different videos. Why am I choosing that one? Well, that has to be the reason. That makes sense.
Yeah. You talked about a few things. You talked about the value you're providing and the people you want to speak to. Do you have like a framework, Zach? I'm sure like a lot of people who start with you,
Hmm.
as you as their mentor, I'm sure they're coming to you in a very similar position, right? They're wanting to, maybe they have a product already and they're trying to figure out how to speak to the world. I feel like that's maybe where I exist right now. I feel
Hmm.
like I've got a lot of trust in the product that we've created and the service that we have, but then telling the world about it,
Yep.
outside of our immediate circles, I find that's probably like where I feel I need the most amount of help. What's like a framework that you give people um, to help them get started on their like brand building journey?
Yeah. Well, first we look at who the product's for or the service is for. And we go, okay, let's say like who is your niche target customer? That's usually where we start with, and we don't overlook it because often their first answer or attempted answer to that question is not really the best one. It's,
Mm.
oh, we target this, we target men, but we also have some women because we don't want to exclude that thing. And then we have to go, okay, let's hang on a second, like let's go back a step. Let's get really clear on who that is because person A and person B are very different. So if we can then get clear on the niche and go, all right, we're happy to exclude these people over here in order to service these people much more clearly, that's the first step. Once that's figured out, we can then look at that person and really create almost that kind of archetype of like, who is that? Imagine that guy, imagine that girl. What are they like? What problems do they have? What would they want to see? What would they want to share? It's almost like you'd be empathizing, you're stepping into the shoes of the person that you're trying to like create for, and then you are servicing them and just like serving that person in terms of solving their problems, pain points, and appealing to their desires and dream outcomes.
What about this concept of like creating value and helping someone versus like a call to action and trying to sell something? How do you get that balance right?
Easy. You split it between every post you make on as like reels, post content carousels shouldn't really be call to actions. They should be nurturing. It should be giving value, connecting. So I usually see value. Value could be is up to is subjective in terms of how we define it, but I usually see value as like helping content, stuff that's helpful. But then I also have other types of content that is more used to just connect with people. And that's why it's personal, it's random. It's not really, oh, thanks for the tip. It's like, oh, that's cool. Like, oh, I get to know Ed a little bit better now because I saw that thing. Or I relate with him because of that. So all of my posts on like the reels and things like that are value driven or at least personal, like connection driven. And then I use stories and promotional strategies to do call to actions because you think about the behavior of someone on their phone nowadays, they're not scrolling and then going, oh, he just said something. Oh, let me go and message him. No way, unless you really, really got their attention. But what you do in a more realistic scenario is you educate people, you provide value, and you build this goodwill, and they go, oh, I love that. Oh, that's so helpful. Oh, and then they think about you in a real positive association. So they might go, oh, that's sick. It helped me with my injury prevention. I'm going to use that next time. They use it. And then guess what happens? Oh, that was so helpful. Oh, wow, it's awesome. And this is maybe over the span of 3 weeks. Then you post a story saying, I'm looking for 3 people that really want to XYZ. And I go, whoa, that's exactly what I need. He's awesome because he helped me a month ago. That's what happens. That's where the connection's made, as opposed to you say, try these 3 things out to prevent injury and then comment this below and I'll message you. Like, it's, you haven't built the goodwill yet. So that's why, like, we build a goodwill in giving people value and helping them, and then building trust, and then in the call to action, it's very deliberate and it's just it's a kill shot. It's like, I'm looking to I want to solve this problem for this person. If it's 2 spots left, are you in or are you out? And then it's on a story. They can just directly take an action. Very easy.
I love it. That makes a lot of sense. So if someone's starting out on their social media journey now, Zach, right? Let's say
Mhm.
like they're a great coach, but they've never and they've been coaching for 5 years, but they've never really had a social media presence, and they're starting out. So for that person, like, is the start of their journey all about building trust and like authority and showing the world what they know before they even start putting out calls to actions and like come and work with me?
I don't think it's one or the other. I think that's the main focus, right? Like, if you're starting out and you have a coaching business already and you just think I need to start posting on social media, you shouldn't waste all of that initial time in trying to build goodwill, because it goes in different levels. Maybe someone takes one video and they trust you. Maybe someone takes a year. Like, everyone goes at a different pace. So what I like to get people to do is do it all. Let's focus on serving people with as much value as possible. So you build the trust, build the connection, build the goodwill. And then let's also see who's around and pick the low hanging fruit by doing some very specific targeted call to actions, because that's what's going to make you money in the interim. And then great, scoop up those people, provide more value. And in the early days, you people expect to be so good straight away. In
Mm.
no other industry, sport, hobby, anything, do people expect to be just good. Like, but content creation, for some reason, people are like, oh, I suck at content, and they've done it for 2 weeks. Like, if I was gonna go try and like learn to surf, and I go out there and go, oh, I suck at surfing, like, obviously, you're supposed to. I've never done it, So it's in the beginning of content. You need to build the foundation and be okay with being pretty shit at it, but at the same time, you can still deliver value and you can still promote your business and get some people who have burning problems that they want to solve.
Zach, with the people that you work with, the coaches that are coming to you and basically, you're mentoring them on their journeys. What are most of the problems that those guys are experiencing?
Different levels. So we have a starter program. So, like, you've never done a single piece of coaching or content or nothing, and you just love the idea of doing this for a job. So they have very different problems because they're much around belief, mindset, fear of judgment, getting momentum. That's like their problems. The guys who are maybe under 10K a month, they have different problems, because if you can get a business to 5K a month, fitness coaching online, it means you've got proof of concept. Something works already, and usually they do that by hustling, because you can hustle, you get a few clients, you're a good coach, you get some referrals, it just kind of ticks over a little bit. But that same mechanism is not going to get you to 20K a month. So the coaches who are like at that level in the beginning, they struggle with, okay, well, now my content's kind of drying up and not really giving me many new leads anymore. What else, what do I do now? And typically they have problems with pricing, they're too cheap, and they have problems with no ads, no marketing, and they're relying on organic growth and social media. So that's that second bucket. Third bucket are the guys who are scaling already and they're already doing 20, 30, 40K months. And then they're going, how do I pull myself out of the business more?
Yes, can speak to that last guy.
Yeah,
And
it's
then,
challenging.
okay, so how let's talk about person number one, avatar one, right? So
Yep.
they're like starting on their fitness journey. Do you work with just people in the online space, Zach?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so what is like the one piece of advice you have for those guys?
One piece of advice is, imagine that you have everything that it takes. No imposter syndrome whatsoever. Imagine you can absolutely do this. and now act on that and don't stop. Because when they start, they have just no belief in themselves. So any hint of doubt will kill them.
How do you, I mean, like, I feel like that's where you got to have like a psychologist or someone in that space to help people break through that. How do you do that?
Um, I usually do it, and this is something I've actually thought of quite a lot in terms of this is such a more of a psychological thing than it is just like a do this, do that. But I do two things. One, I try and shatter their perspective of what's possible. And I do that on like our first call where I say, hey, here's this guy. He was in a similar boat. He just made 40 grand in a month. And I go, imagine making 40 grand in a month. And I go, if he made 10 grand, he would be pissed off. And then they're like, whoa, my goal was 5 grand. What do you mean? And so I try
Mm.
and like, I call it borrowing perspective because I try and go, let me share perspective in hindsight. Hopefully, we can raise your standard of what you think is possible. That's what I try and do first of all, so that they go, they before the meeting, they thought 5 grand was the most money they'd ever make online. After the meeting, they're like, wow, maybe I could make 10. Like that's my first thing is to try and just increase their ceiling, just raise it a little bit. The next thing is to break things down so small that anyone can do it. Because if you think about any task, you break it down small enough, it's easy. But people don't stick to it long enough. So we break down creating the offer, setting up your systems, and creating a whole sales and marketing process. We break that down into something that is so small. The step is literally write this and press this button, post this. Like that's how we do it. Is we raise the standard and then also bite-sized kind of micro little bits of advice.
Yeah, I guess in the same way as a coach is, helping their client start to, work towards their goals. We're setting that goalpost right in front of their face where the
Yeah,
likelihood of failure is so low because it's so achievable.
yeah,
And
it's
then
like
I
one
guess,
rep.
yeah, you're just clocking in the wins and building up the evidence over time that you're ready for the next one.
Yep, 100%.
Okay, so then we look at that second avatar. So what was that? So first one is basically like just
Yep, 0 to
starting, big
1. Yep.
imposter syndrome. Yeah, can't put themselves out there. So talk us through that second avatar. So I think the third one was the person who's like already got a good business and looking to like seriously scale this up. So
Yep.
talk to us about that second person.
The people in the middle, they're really the most fun to work with because they've already got something that works. And they're so easy to get results with because they're they've built their business on just backbone. Like they've hustled, they've messaged people, they've just been consistent for long enough. They've already proven that they can get past that first bit of, oh, am I going to make it? Like they've already got out of that. So then it's about tweaking what gets them off the ground basically and being a bit more streamlined. So the analogy I use is if a rocket's taking off, it needs all the power to get all the thrust, all the like crazy noise, fire, everything like that to just beat gravity. But once it gets out, it drops like detaches the little booster things that the rocket just like drops that because it's dead weight, and then it switches and now it's in orbit and it has different systems. Easier, it's more efficient. That's kind of like the analogy I use with people. Is like whatever gets you to that your first 5K, the grit, the hustle, the organic posting, all these different stuff. You do more of that, it's dead weight. It's a waste of time. You need to build the foundation, and now we add different things to streamline the process, add efficiency, make it easier to sustain and easier to scale because you can't scale what you just started with. So they have a little bit different problems.
Can you give me some of the examples of like creating those systems and creating scale for those guys?
Definitely. So let's think about a coach who's doing 5 grand a month. Typically, they charge really cheap. They might be at like $60 a week or something like that
Sorry,
because they
by the
don't
way, Zach, are we talking Aussie dollars or US dollars?
either. Literally, either. It's
Yeah.
both. Yeah, some guys Aussie. It just depends who you speak to. Some guy might charge $80, sometimes 50. So like, it's kind of much of a muchness.
Yeah.
But let's just either one. So let's just say they charge $50 a week because they don't value themselves. Maybe they've done in person, so they treat online as a downsell. Now to get a lot of clients in, they need a lot of leads because obviously to make money, $50 a week, $200 a month coming in, how are we going to get these clients? We need a lot of clients to make a lot of money. So all of a sudden, we look at them and go, immediately, you're capped now because how are you supposed to spend money to acquire a customer when they're only going to pay you $200 in a month? Like, where's the money? Where's the cash flow coming from to invest in acquiring a customer? It's not there. And that's why they hustle and that's why they continue to do what they always did and kind of spin their wheels and do that. Whereas we kind of go, all right, pause. Let's dramatically increase your pricing by making your offer better, basically. And now instead of selling something for $50 a week, you're trying to sell something for $2,000 today in full right now. Because if you can do that, well, how much would you pay to acquire a customer that's going to give you $2,000 today? Anything less than $1,000 probably, and then someone would be pretty happy. So we try and increase the margin hugely. Then it becomes a challenge of, okay, cool. Well, my price is 2 grand, but I can't sell it. It's because you suck at sales. So now let's get you good at sales and employ a bit of a sales system so that we can make use of the leads that you've already got and then close more of those leads so that you can make more money for actually getting less clients on board. And it's more money today, not the future value of weekly payments that we need later, so that we can use the cash flow to reinvest into ads. And that is how the scalability comes in. Whereas you can't scale something that doesn't have those foundations and doesn't have margins.
Yes. Yes. Of all the people you work with, Zach, do you have more people that sit in bucket one or bucket two?
I would say recently bucket one, only because that's where my marketing went to, because I did a few like uh events of how to start coaching, and that's just what the majority of people want to learn how to do that, like how do I start. But in terms of actual sign-ons, I think it's probably nearly 50-50. It's pretty
Yeah.
close, but there's so much interest in how to start coaching, but not too many action takers.
Okay, so let's go back to that second avatar, right? So they're just currently exchanging like time for money, right? So
Correct.
that's how they
Yeah.
that's how they built themselves to this point. It's like the more work I put in. You said like, we talked about the concept of like increasing your price, but
Hmm.
with the price increase has to come an increase in value. For most of the people you're working with, what is that like? What does that increase in value look like? Like, where are they starting at, and what do you change in them that suddenly justifies, a 10x increase in price?
Well, it's the increase in perceived value,
Yeah.
not necessarily value itself. And that's the biggest difference. Because
Mm.
the same person who, as you said, has been exchanging time for money, I tell them to increase their value. What do you think they do? They just put more time into it. And so now they're like, oh, I can't. Okay, so I'm going to give this guy 2 Zoom calls a week. And now I'm going to talk to him for an hour a week. And I'm like, that's not more value. If someone tries to talk to me for an hour a week, I need to charge them. It's not like that's not good. So more is not better. So then we teach them how to increase perceived value by getting better at marketing. And what does that look like? Okay, well that looks like, instead of the coach saying, uh, you get a check in and you get this meal plan, you get all these training programs. Instead of saying that, we get the coach to go, okay, we'll tap into their exact desires and their specific pain points, and then tell them and market that you're going to cure all of the pain that they've got right now, and then build the dream outcome. Speak to that. Don't speak to the shit that you're going to give them to get them there, because who cares about that? Like, who cares about a meal plan or a training program? The person doesn't really want that. They want to feel great. They want to not be tired. They want to spend more time with their kids. They want to have better relationships. That's perceived value, because you probably have experienced this as well with people. When you talk to them about investing in their health, they treat it like it's, oh, I don't know about that. That's expensive. It's like $1,000. Oh, that's way too expensive. But you reframe it and go, okay, what would you pay for more energy with your family, more time, more respect for yourself, more confidence? What would you pay for that? They go, oh, 5 grand, 10 grand. Well, before you just said you weren't going to pay $1,000. It's like they don't connect the dots. And when you connect the dots for them and go, here's how we're going to fix your pain, solve this problem so that you can experience this dream outcome. Does that sound good? They're like, this sounds amazing. You're like, great. This is how much it costs. We didn't change the mechanism. You see, you don't change the delivery. You don't change what you added. You just changed how it's perceived, right?
Yeah. So I got a flashback of one of your videos where you're talking, I think, on your podcast about this, like increasing your price. And I think you were talking about the idea that a lot of people set their price based upon their hourly rate.
Mm,
And rather than thinking about it that way, think about, like you just said, like what is the price? What is the value of the problem that you are fixing?
yep.
And you just said, you use a great example there, which is that you just ask your client, what would you pay to have, X problem solved. Is that the way that people need to go about it? Like, how can one, because, I've been in this position before, in that same position, looking at, I'm exchanging time for money. Everyone is telling me, all my mentors are telling me, you need to increase your rates. I
Hmm.
do exactly what you just said there, which is, okay, I'll double my rates, but I'm going to double my output to justify the rates.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
they would always say, no, like, what you're doing has immense value that's worth 10 times what you're charging. And I, as a
Mm.
coach, couldn't connect the dots on that. So how does one, as a coach in this position, get to realize, like, figure out, well, what is the value of what I'm actually providing that makes me feel confident? Because I think that's it, right? It's like,
Mm.
it's not just about the price point, it's me feeling confident that I'm like, this price, I fully believe that what I'm charging is absolutely worth it. Because I think
Yes.
that's where a lot of people struggle. Like, you can tell someone to double, triple their prices, but if they're not really believing it, then the client's going to probably feel that right from the start.
100%. I think there's a few different points that we speak to on it. One is you do need to see results. Obviously, with people, you have
Mm.
to see those results come because when you do, your conviction will go through the roof. But the problem is that if you're always really cheap, you always will attract a similar type of client who is not as consistent. They don't have as much skin in the game, so they continue to give you the bad results, which affects your confidence as well. So sometimes it's a chicken and egg. 'Cause sometimes you can raise your prices, and therefore whoever buys has more buy-in. They get better results. You see the results, and you get more conviction. So that's why you usually start by just raising your prices, and it weeds out a lot of the like tire kickers. And after you've seen enough results like that, and you've done the work on actually thinking about, okay, well, how would this help someone in other areas of their life, and you see that happen, it's awareness. And when you have awareness of those things, everything changes. And I'll give you an example as well for me personally. I did a webinar last week on how to start coaching, and so I gave a bunch of info on how to start coaching. And at the end of it, I pitched my product, my service on the call, gave them a good deal, and I was actually telling them to pay. I'm like, the link is in the chat. Buy it in full. Most people would be so scared about that. Even me, like 3 years ago, would have been terrified to do that. But in the time, I've seen multiple lives change through our stuff. Through applying what we teach, I've seen people literally change their lives, go from making literally $0 in the bank and getting a loan to making 10 to 20 grand a month. And how that impacts their life. They quit their job that they hated, that was causing them so much negativity. They moved to Bali and they live there now. They're able to go back and travel and see their family. Like, I've seen all these things. So when I am doing a webinar and I'm pitching to people and I'm saying, for the right person, this will change your life if you do the work. Imagine my conviction level. Like, I was just jamming it down people's throats. I was saying, if you are this and this and this is the dumbest thing you could do not to buy this. If you don't have the money, get the money. Like, I was like really all in. Didn't matter how much it cost because I knew the value of it was so much more than what I was charging. And you have to know that. Like, that's what, to answer your question, you have to know that the value of what they can do if they do the right stuff, not what they'll get if they do nothing, but if they do everything that you say and you help them get there, the value of that is worth so much more than a couple $1,000s that they're gonna spend anyway. That they're gonna spend on a night out a few times a year. Like, they're gonna spend the money anyway. But people don't have confidence in themselves that that money should go to that cause.
Yes. I'm getting butterflies in my stomach thinking about it, because I think there's been a lot of times, over the last 16 years in my business where, like, I agree, have felt like the uncomfortable, the discomfort when, like, it comes time to talk about the price or the
Yep,
sale. But if I actually think about it, most of those times occur when I actually don't really believe in the product that I'm selling. Like,
100%.
I'm not really, I'm sitting there saying that this is going to change your life, and I'm actually thinking back on my mind, I'm like, I actually don't think this thing is actually going to change your life. This is
Yeah.
actually just gonna, this is gonna give you a few good training sessions in a week, but actually, I'm not dealing with all the other things that contribute to a high performance life, like nutrition. And I just
Yeah.
know deep down that I'm like, am I actually really going to change your life? Whereas I know, with our recent product that we just launched in the peak performance program, which is all about longevity, and people get in a personalized results manager that's looking after them all the time.
Mhm.
I now probably, actually, honestly, Zach, for the first time in many, many years, I actually feel so fully confident that this thing is actually going to change everyone's life who joins this, that I'm not actually not scared to have the conversation about the value and the price we charge, because I'm just so confident this is. And if they decide no, this is not what I want, I actually almost feel sorry for them. Where I'm like,
Yes,
I'm gutted that you're going to miss out on this, but that's okay. Like I'm
but
really
also,
confident someone else would be there.
can I pause there and just kind of
Yeah,
ask, like, let's say you've got that guy who said, "Nah, I don't want this," because he said it was too expensive and he didn't see the value yet, right? Now you're there going, "All right, that's your bad luck. Catch you later then. Good luck," right? Did you leave him better or worse? Like, you left him worse, right?
yeah,
But let's say you could see the future where, like, one future, he just goes and does what he's doing all the time and continues to get worse, right? It just becomes more fucked. But there's another future where you have uncomfortable conversation with him and you, for lack of a better word, convince him and persuade him to part with his money and join their thing, and joins it, changes the life for the better because you know the service you're providing is great. It's like, is he going to thank you for having that difficult conversation, going to thank you so much for getting me over the line? Like, of course. And
yeah,
so it's almost like you have the crystal ball sometimes because you deal with this, you see the people. They don't know this. They think, nah, it's expensive, I'll get there myself. So it's almost like you have the obligation to give them the service if it's right for them, and to do your best to sell what is going to sell for someone because they're scared of price, because they have a lot of fear. This is something I have to deal with all the time. My guys, my ideal clients, I can change their life if they listen to me, but they're terrified to make the first move. So do I want to leave them just in a state of fear and constantly just doing something they hate for the rest of their life? Nah, I would rather get do as much as I can to get them over the line to do the thing and let me help them. I would rather that. And I would feel like I'm literally doing a disservice if I don't sell every single product to the person who needs it the most. And that's what I
yes.
think that's the switch. And if you know that what you do is the answer to that person's stuff, you're a dick if you get off the call and don't sell it to him and don't do your absolute best to get him over the line. I think you're like, it's actually doing him a disservice.
Yeah, that's a very big perspective shift, right?
Yeah,
You're looking at this as a means of service and adding value to people's lives, which I think is ultimately what gets a lot of people in the space of coaching in the first place,
100%.
versus looking at this as a way for me to make money.
Yeah. When you looked of like, how can I make this a great service, like you did with your program, you change things, you add stuff, you make it better. Like we do it all the time. You're trying to make it the best thing possible, and as a result, the byproduct is that you make money because you're solving people's problems, and then it's easier to sell. Then you raise your prices, and people love it, and it's like it all works. Whereas if you chase the money, you lose touch of what makes it valuable in the first place.
So Zach, just going back to this example of like raise your rates, right?
Yep.
So if you're offering this amount of value and
Yep.
you're charging this price,
Hmm.
if we're going to increase the price here, right, we're going to double your
Yep.
price. Um, can that happen without changing the value,
Million
or
percent.
does
You,
that?
you just change the
Yeah,
perceived value. You just change the
yeah,
way that I explain it to you. That's all.
yes,
That's all it really is. Because the person doesn't know the value that's going into it, right? Like if you have someone on a call, let's say you're a lead, and I say, okay, so here's the goal. Here's how we operate. I give you a check in a week. I give you this and that, and it's going to be $100 a week. Let's just say, and you go, okay, and I go, all right. Now, if I want to charge 200 a week, I would basically have to double all the things. I would give you 2 hours of check-ins a week. It's like more is not better. So
mm.
instead of framing it that way, we frame it like, okay, your goal is to lose 10 kilos. All right, let me get you thinking about what that means to you. Let me get you understanding why you haven't done this yet and why you probably can't do it yourself. Okay, we on the same page. Cool. So where are you going by yourself? Okay, it's not good. Where do you want to go? Here. Okay, why do you want to get there? Okay, that's why it's important. What's that worth to you now? So now it's feelings. Now we're talking about feelings. We're not talking about logistics of, well, you said your hourly rate was this much. And like, this is what people don't understand is that when people seek help for anything, fitness, business, anything, they're seeking help because they can't do it themselves, right? Like that's where they're at. And so, but they don't know that this is the difference. They don't know that because a lot of people think, I could do it myself. I just haven't really next year. Like that's where they're at. So sometimes a sales conversation is is increasing the perceived value because we're showing people, hey, if you keep doing what you've always done, where do you think, how is this going to get any better? And only then sometimes do people go, oh damn, yeah, I don't know where I'll be. I guess I'll be worse. And there's this epiphany moment where people are on the call. You haven't even, mind you, you haven't even spoken about what you're offering. Like I haven't
Yeah.
even, you haven't even said, oh, you'll get this check in this amount of time. It's irrelevant because we're too busy talking about how much strife you're in right now, how much trouble you're in if you don't fix this. So now that you've raised this gap and created this urgency of the need to change, and that is where people pull the trigger on price, and that's where they'll pay more, is because the desire to change, and especially with the person helping, is huge. As opposed to if we don't even talk about that stuff and we don't even go into why it's important for you, why you can't do it yourself, and what the dream outcome's going to be, people will just boil it down to price and go,
Yeah.
okay, well, I think I can get it cheaper, so I'll go elsewhere. You know, so then you don't even need to talk about how you do the thing because it doesn't matter how you do it. It just matters that it
Yeah.
gets it done.
Yeah. Ultimately, people don't care about the process. They just want the result.
100%. And the coach is
I
obsessed
think,
about the process because they think that's important, but it doesn't matter what you think. No one cares what
yeah.
coaches think. It's
And I
what the
think you're
client
right.
thinks.
When you're just talking about the process, then it's people just compare, apples with apples. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
the gym around the corner is doing exactly the same thing. What's their price?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
this is something that we learned. And again, I want to like just share this. I've been doing this for 16 years and I've still been doing so many of the things that you're talking about have been a large part of the last 16 years until, more recent times. But
Yep.
I'm sure with you on that webinar, Zach, when you're talking to all these people who've come into this free webinar and it comes time to basically talk about, how you can help them. I'm
Hmm.
sure like deep down you knew already, like half these guys, I know that they're in. Like you've already seen their probably eyes light up and be
Hmm.
like, okay, I can actually help this person, this person, this person. They know that I'm the person to fix their problems. That probably like there was a high level of confidence when you came into that, that
Yeah,
final like part of the call. And I think
100%.
that's what we've experienced as well as a gym is that in our like, in our trial process, we're really trying to show people, like giving them so much value in that trial that by the end of that trial, like, we've identified all their problems, we've individualized it, they're really clear on like how we can help them. And then by
Hmm.
the time it comes point to talk about, the membership or, the thing they want to purchase, it's like you just know already.
Yeah, it's a
They know
no-brainer.
already. They're not, like they don't even care about the price. Just
Yep.
like, can we hurry up and just get started like now? And I
Yeah.
think, versus, younger me, which was always just talking about the service. Here's what you do. You get this many sessions a week.
Yeah.
This is what the training program looks like. Or, it just starts on an email, which is like, this is our prices. Tell us which membership you want. And
Correct.
you haven't actually showed at all how you're going to solve their problems.
Exactly. Bang on. That's it. Like we commoditize ourselves because we talk about the logistics of what you get, and people, of course, they're going to itemize it and go, "Oh, like people used to do it to me all the time. They're like, where's the how do you charge this much when it's this many?" And I'm like, hey, I charge whatever I want because it doesn't matter. Like you can't itemize this shit. It's not a receipt from like the shops. It's you're paying for the service, which is going to get you the outcome. You're not paying for the things that you got to do in the middle. That's my job. And if I want to take, if anything, I'll take shit out of there so you can do less for the same result. And this is like
Mm,
what the analogy I used to give people as well is what do you think someone's going to prefer? To get the result by doing 40 things or to get the result by doing one thing? Of course, one thing. Like people want the path of least resistance. And this is where people like mess it up all the time is because they try and improve the value and increase their value and they give you more shit, more things to read, more things to do. No one wants more stuff. If anything, take it out. So when I first did the blueprint, I had everything, man. Like I had videos on everything you can think of because I'm like, I just want to make this so valuable. And so what happens? People jump in. There's too many things to watch. They watch nothing. They don't get results. And so what I did was go, this sucks, but let me take out all this value. So I took it out. I just got rid of it. I deleted all this value, and I left people with only a few things that they could do. So what do you think happens? Well, it's easy. It's manageable. They do it. They get the result, and then they're like, this is amazing. And so I created more value by removing things.
mm,
I created more value by removing value. That's where it's paradoxical, you know?
yeah. Fuck, I love it. Zach, okay, we got to talk about that third bucket. So these are the
Yeah.
people now. This is the third avatar. They've already created big businesses, but they're looking to go. I think you said the analogy was they're trying to take themselves out the business now.
Yes. Yeah.
Where do you start with those guys?
So often we look at like what they're currently doing, and if they're at that position where they're already making say over 20, 30K a month, probably over 30K a month, I think, it's like you're already very good at what you do. You've already survived the test of business. I think like you're doing very well. But at that point, they start to become the bottleneck because originally it could have been marketing or sales or content. But then if you get to that point, you usually are doing a lot of things. You're wearing a lot of hats. And so to get to 30 from 30 to 100K, you can't do it all yourself. And that's the thing. And I learned this the hard way because I wanted to do everything myself back in the day. And I thought that was the only way that I could because that's why I was successful because it was me doing things and I can do it. And because I can, I should. That's what I thought. Whereas now I'm of the mindset of like, if I try and do more stuff, I'm going to fuck it all up because 10% of my effort goes here, 5% goes there. And then I'm the bottleneck. Then the time's wasted. Like we're waiting for me now at this point. So instead, we have to look at it and go, all right, what are you currently doing that you need to do because it's your thing, right? What are you doing that lights you up that is providing the most value to the business? Okay, hold on to that. On the flip side, what are you doing that you don't really need to do that's maybe a bit of a drain on your energy and that someone else could potentially do nearly as good? And then we audit that stuff. And so for coaches, it's typically sometimes a sub coach is helpful to get a coach in to help do the delivery. So they take themselves out of delivery a little bit. So now they do more marketing, they do more content, they do more sales. Then, okay, my calendar is so full with sales calls, I can't even fucking think anymore. Okay, let's get you a sales closer. So we get a closer in there to take the sales calls. Okay, cool. I'm out of sales calls. All I do now is I'm the face of it. I do the content, do the marketing, and run a bit of the admin. And then they're the kind of that's the way of thinking we usually go. The first couple of hires is like usually a VA to do a few admin bits, organization stuff like that. Then we have like a DM setter to help with communication, talking to leads, setting appointments, and then we typically move into sub coach and closer. But it does depend on the coach's um, own specific, like I said, pain and gain points, but it also depends on their time as well and where they're spending the most. So, like in your experience, what activities and what really lights you up that is the reason why you're successful? So for me, it's content. Imagine if I outsourced my content, I'd be fucked. If someone else did all AI content of me, I would never succeed. So I have to be the one in front of the camera making content. That's where my skills are. I don't want to be the one taking sales calls because I'll have no time for content, right? So in your experience, like what is the thing that
Yep.
you that lights you up that you think is like that's your strong point?
Yeah, I think the things that I really love doing, I mean, actually, right now in this season of life, like, I love the idea of actually wanting to become better at marketing and
Yeah.
sales. Like, that's something that actually used to terrify me, but
Yep.
actually now because I'm, learning the skill sets, I'm seeing success with it. Like, that's a chapter in my life that I want to really improve on.
Yep.
Um, but so there's that. I think it's managing my team. Like it's just, the
Yep.
general direction and the vision of the business. I really enjoy doing that and,
Yes.
like problem solving and creating a plan. I mean, I really love programming still. I really just love writing programs for the gym. And for our new peak performance program, like that's kind of like the flow state space that I really enjoy
Great.
doing. And I can tell you straight away, because I've gone through this exercise many times in my past. I kind of like, every 6 months have to do a kind of like check in. And when I look at all the things I'm doing, and I'm like, okay, what's like incompetent? What are the things like I'm not even good at doing and I hate
Yeah.
doing? And
Yeah.
it's like, well, what are those excellent activities, the things I love doing and I'm really good at? And I think, there was a point in time where I was really good at coaching group classes, but it
Hmm.
just no longer like lit me up anymore. Like I just didn't
Yeah.
enjoy doing.
Exactly.
So I, removed myself from the group coaching for accounting. Like fucking hate it. But I
Yep.
know it's necessary. But I was doing my company a disservice by being in that position.
Correct.
Um, HR, payroll,
Yep.
emails.
Yep.
Um, yeah. So I think,
But
and
what
if I
about the
if I
ones
look,
that what about the ones that you enjoy doing but don't necessarily provide the greatest value to the business? So there's some things you might need to delegate to sometimes. Because imagine like you love programming so much, but if you just did all programming and did that for 4 hours a day, how much more value is that going to provide to the business? Whereas someone that you might have a really experienced coach who would do it just as good or maybe 90% of
yeah,
the way that you would do it. And you can spend another 4 hours a day on marketing, vision, leadership. And then what happens to the business? You create so much more value because you've identified the things that you're like, if I just spend more time doing this, I'll make more money, or I'll make a better, better service kind of thing.
And the truth is, like, even in programming, I know deep down that there's I've got guys and girls on my team who could do probably just as good a job as me, just with a bit of
Hmm.
nurturing and
Yep.
guidance in a short amount of
Training.
time. They could probably, yeah, they could probably take that off my hands. And I
Yep.
think that this every time when people like you ask me questions like that, there's like this, I feel like this confrontation deep inside me because I'm like, but this is a thing that I've always done. And I have
Yeah.
like already built an identity in my head that it's like, I am the programming guy. And if I'm not doing it, all our clients are going to leave us. When the truth is, it probably won't at
Yeah.
all.
I'm the same with content. Like I have an outsourced ideation and content creation, even videography for me, and I've been doing it for 10 years, and I still set my camera up and start shooting videos. And only yesterday I was like, Zach, pull yourself out of this because you're not doing a good enough job of it because you
Yeah.
think you're the best. Like I think I'm the only one who can do it, but really someone else can do it. It's that exact belief that you said that's not really true, but you kind of deep down you think, you know, all corners on that. And it's not true. It's not true. Like there's more efficient ways of doing things.
Yeah, I find that I often wait for like the breaking point, right? Like
Mm.
I'm this close to a meltdown and all shit just crumbling that I'm almost acting out of desperation now that I just need to stop this. And then
Yep.
that's when it gets handed over and then you realize, life is still just as good.
Life's
Like
good.
nothing bad. All those fears that I had,
Yeah.
um, that I thought was going to happen didn't happen.
Yep.
But then I still feel it though, like the programming thing. Exactly. I actually just this week, sat down with one of my coaches and was like, okay, I'm going to really start mentoring this person because
Mm.
I think I'm ready to hand this on. And actually, if I'm honest, the big kind of like wake up call is the fact that we've got a kid on the way, and you start thinking about the future
Mm.
now. And it's like I'm not gonna maybe have as much time to do 4 hours or 5 hours of programming a week, and then
Yes.
suddenly that created more of a cadence in my life to be like the thing that for the last 3 years I've been saying I'm going to do and I've never done it. Actually, is I'm going to do it now.
Because at some point you can see that the breaking point is going to come because now you don't have the time literally
Yeah.
anymore. Like it's not there, so you have to fix it. So I think like it's identifying that early on and going like, where do I love spending my time? Where do I need to spend the time? And then how can I create more so that I can do more of the stuff? And it also just even have time to yourself to just not fucking work all the time. I'm massive on that, like people, entrepreneurs at that point when they're making 30 grand a month or more, they've succeeded for a reason because of a very select few personality traits, and they're all the same. They're the people who don't stop working, who never give themselves a chance, who are always so hard on themselves, who never it's never good enough, raise the expectations. They're always the same kind of person because I've been there as well. I look at a lot of that too. And then it was so handy for me to go like, hey, you deserve to enjoy your life, and like not always work all the time. And you take 2 hours on a Wednesday and do nothing because who cares? Go book a trip somewhere just because you can, because who cares? Like, enjoy it. That's what I try and do within myself and also for the business owners. Because if you enjoy your work much more, I believe you're going to be better at it. I believe you're going to be more creative. You're going to, like, when I travel, every time I travel, I do my best work. And it's sometimes I mean, all the time I work so much less, but I come up with these ideas because my perspective changes because I'm less stressed. And it
Yeah.
always happens. Every time I do it, I always am in such a good mood about the business and where I want to take it and everything like that. And it's because I'm not at my desk for 10 hours a day doing calls or having to stress myself out with arbitrary deadlines, but it's how I found I'll operate really well is like, let me pencil in time to actually just not do work and get me carve back some time for myself that I'm not filling with tasks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I resonate a lot with that. Every time I give myself quiet time, even if it's just for a day, like
Yep.
even if it's just a Sunday where I say, okay, I'm actually not gonna touch my laptop today. I come in on Monday and I'm like ready to, fire on all cylinders.
Yeah, yeah,
But when
yeah.
I don't give, and it's like, I think the thing that I always realize that actually I don't need that much time off. Yeah, I tell
No.
myself that like, you gotta, if you're not going to take a holiday, like your world's going to crumble. And sometimes just a 24 or 48-hour reset, like,
Sometimes it's
is
2
exactly
hours in
what I
the
need.
day, I reckon. It's 1
Yeah.
hour where you just go and do something you wanna do, have some fun or whatever. That's what I find. It's like little things add up. You don't need a holiday for sure.
I still struggle with it though. I'm not going to lie. I still struggle with this, like, I think maybe it's a part of it is still this guilt thing where it's like if I'm not working really hard, then like
Mm,
maybe just for fear of like what's my team going to think about me?
mhm.
Is that going to, I don't know, like I still have those things, or it's like, I have a responsibility to be working all day, every day because I'm the head of the business and I should
Yeah.
because like we're never good enough. So I definitely still battle with it quite a bit.
Uh, Mate, same. I do as well, for sure. That's why we're having this chat on a Saturday morning. It's the same thing. But most people will be like, don't work weekends, I don't, don't think about work. But for me personally, like I've tried to instill that in my team as well a little bit, and go like I'll encourage them to go not be workaholics as well. Like I'll see how you going, how's things feeling, is this killing you? All right, let's take that out. Like I'll try and do that too, and it just depends on what culture you want to build. Whereas if you're like an absolute hard ass and you're working your team to the ground and undercompensating, and then you're going out and enjoying life, of course it's going to feel, they're going to be
Mm,
like, hey, this is not fair. However, if it's built into the culture where that's what's valued, is, you know, bit of freedom to do some things and also that bit of balance as well. But at the end of the day, we all have a common goal where we do get our jobs done, then great. There's not going to be any animosity towards it. Like I think my team's the same. I flew to the guys to Thailand recently and we just literally just had fun. So it was, it's just what you create.
yeah. Work in progress. Zach,
Sure.
this is this has been awesome. I feel like there's I've got a million more questions to ask you, but we're gonna say that for another podcast in the future.
Yep.
Zach, we have a closing tradition on this podcast, and we ask our guests a simple question. Well, it's not actually a simple question. It's a question, and the question is, what is a quote or a mantra that resonates with you right now?
I wouldn't say it's a quote. If I can remember it actually. Well, I'll take it. I'll paraphrase it. The quote. It's a stoic. It's a stoic topic. Ryan Holiday's book, "The Obstacle Is the Way," is basically the whole thing.
Great
Um,
book.
and I think, yeah, and I think that if I can remember correctly, it's like the obstacle becomes the way, and that has always been something that really, like, that was a bit of a penny drop moment for me when I first heard it, because I was like, whoa, never heard of something explained that way. And for those who haven't heard it, it's the idea that when you are experiencing something that's obviously really challenging or that feels like it's the obstacle, usually that's the thing that makes all the difference. Like usually that becomes the way. So when you think when you get an obstacle and you think like, that's it, everything's over, you lean into it, like that becomes the way. And so I think recently there's been a few things that like even just personal reasons that I struggled and was having a few struggles, and that's what I went back to, and that's why it was really relevant recently. And I was like, you know what, this actually, what I thought was a really really bad thing, this could be something that's really really good. And then seeing how that could work out gives you a lot of hope.
Yes, I resonate a lot with that. I love Ryan Holiday. I love that book.
Yeah, it's so
They
good.
both had a massive impact on my life as well.
Oh, how good.
Zach, where can people learn more about you and how can people work with you?
uh So my socials, Zac Perna on Instagram. It's probably the best way, I reckon. You hit me up on Instagram. And if they're coaches and they want to get into doing coaching or getting our help, there's always some kind of link in my bio somewhere. Otherwise, yeah, hit me up on YouTube as well, and they can binge some content. Check me out on Pornhub under the. I don't think any guests has ever done that.
Yeah, I
That's
thought I
funny.
recognized you.
Yeah. I was gonna go deeper into the genres, and I'm like, oh no, I'll keep it okay.
Love it, Zach. This has been an awesome conversation. You're doing amazing work. Thank you for sharing all the wisdom, insights. I have taken a ton away from this. I'm going to re-listen to this episode when it comes out, because I know there's loads of gold that's going to help me tomorrow. So thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for freeing up your Saturday. And yeah, this has been awesome.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. That was fun.
Before we say goodbye, here's one crazy statistic for you. Did you know that almost 40% of people who listen to the show don't actually subscribe to it? Now, I didn't think that was a big deal until I actually learned about the power of hitting subscribe. For you, the listener, you get to stay up to date when we drop episodes on a weekly basis. But for us as a podcast, it really helps our visibility and helps us attract great brands and great listeners to help grow this podcast. So if you enjoyed this episode or you're a big fan of the show, please do us a massive favor and hit subscribe. Thank you so much.